This video demonstrates how objectiF RPM ensures traceability throughout the development process, from stakeholder requirements all the way up to code. In this example, we'll be looking at a service-oriented application. To begin with, let's take a look over the product owner's shoulder. Right now, she's refining a feature into user stories. A copyright notice needs to be added to the About display in the web app. This really isn't a big project, so one man day should be enough. However, the user story has a high priority. The product owner places it high in the development ranking, and then releases it for development by changing its state to assessed. We'll look at further planning for the user story in time-lapse. The user story is now assigned to a team, or in other words, it's referenced in the corresponding team backlog. The team then adds the story to the current sprint. Now it's the developer's turn. That's me. I'll start working on the planned user story. But where should I begin? In order to figure that out, I can take a look at the application's architecture. Here's the feature from which the user story was derived, and it's going to be realized with this web service. And this is presumably the About operation that needs to be changed, that is, extended. To figure out what needs to be done, I can access the source code file from within objectiF RPM and open it in Visual Studio Code, all with a single click. Now we're looking at the source code from About. I'll add the copyright notice. After saving the changes, I'll start the service to test whether it works. So now the service is running. Let's test it in the browser. Great, the app is functioning. Now I'll give all operations from the operations directory back to objectiF RPM. In this dialog, I can see that only the file about.js was modified. And now I'm going to record which user story is responsible for the modified code, or in other words, which requirement was satisfied. When I click OK, a satisfy relationship is created between the code file and the user story. In a moment, we'll check where this relationship shows up, but first I want to complete my work on the user story. Let's take a look at the user story's files. Under the Realization tab, we see the sprint where the user story was realized, and the corresponding code file. So, this is where the satisfied relationship was set up when I returned the code file and specified which requirement was satisfied. For the sake of example, let's allow some time to pass. A few days or weeks later, the product owner wants to know what happened with her user story. She can find the answers here, in the requirements history, which is automatically created. Here's the revision that was recorded when I set the user story to realized. Here we see the code file that was modified. But what was actually changed in the code? Let's look at the code's revisions. We can get more information by comparing the two latest revisions. The first thing we notice here is that the file got bigger, so it did change a bit. And when we compare the code, we can see exactly what changed. You have now seen how objectiF RPM ensures traceability through the entire development process, from requirements, through architecture models, all the way to code, and all without any extra work for the team. This is just one way that objectiF RPM ensures high-quality development processes and solutions.